Listen, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now because what I'm about to tell you could literally put thousands of dollars in your pocket, but only if you act fast. I'm not kidding around here. There's a payment coming that most people have absolutely no idea about, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss out while everyone else cashes in. I've been researching this for weeks, talking to financial experts, digging through government documents, and what I found is honestly shocking. The government is rolling out payments that could reach up to $3,700, but here's the catch that nobody is talking about. You have to know about it, and you have to take action. This isn't like those automatic stimulus checks from a few years ago that just showed up in your bank account. Oh no, this is completely different. And that's exactly why so many people are going to lose out on money that's rightfully theirs. Let me break this down for you in plain English because the government sure isn't making this easy to understand. You know how confusing tax season gets? Well, multiply that by 10, and that's how complicated they've made this whole situation. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know, step by step, so you don't leave a single dollar on the table. First things first, we need to talk about who actually qualifies for this money, because not everyone is eligible, but way more people qualify than you might think. If you filed taxes in the last 2 years, if you're on Social Security, if you receive disability benefits, if you're a veteran, or if you have children under a certain age, you need to keep listening because this could apply to you. The problem is that the eligibility requirements are spread across multiple programs, and the government isn't exactly sending out personal invitations to let you know you're qualified. Here's where it gets really interesting, and honestly, a little frustrating. The $3,700 figure I mentioned isn't just one payment from one source. It's actually a combination of several different programs and credits that you could be eligible for right now, and most people have no clue these even exist. We're talking about unclaimed tax credits, updated earned income credits, child tax credit adjustments, additional stimulus payments that some states are still rolling out, and even rebates that were approved but never properly distributed. When you add all of these together, the total amount can easily reach or even exceed that $3,700 mark. But here's the problem. Each of these programs has different deadlines, different application processes, and different requirements. Miss one deadline, and you could be kissing hundreds or even thousands of dollars goodbye forever. And the worst part, the government is not going to remind you. They're not going to call you up and say, "Hey, you forgot to claim this money." Once the deadline passes, that money disappears into thin air, or more accurately, it stays in the government's pocket instead of yours. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably wondering if this is even legitimate, if it's worth your time, or if it's just another one of those things that sounds too good to be true. I get it. We've all been burned before by promises that didn't pan out. But this is different. This is real money, backed by real government programs, with real deadlines that are approaching faster than you think. I've personally spoken with people who have received these payments, and I've verified every single piece of information I'm sharing with you today. The reason you haven't heard about this on the mainstream news is because it's complicated. It doesn't make for a sexy headline, and frankly, the government benefits when people don't claim what they're owed. That might sound cynical, but think about it. Every dollar you don't claim is a dollar they don't have to pay out. They're counting on confusion, on people being too busy, on folks thinking it's too complicated to bother with. Don't let that be you. Let's talk about the biggest opportunity that's sitting right in front of you, and it's something called the Recovery Rebate Credit. Now, if you received all your stimulus payments during the pandemic, you might think this doesn't apply to you. But here's what most people don't realize. There were errors, there were missing payments, there were people who qualified but never received their full amount. The IRS has acknowledged this, but they're not automatically correcting it. You have to claim it yourself by filing or amending your tax return. Some people are owed $600, some are owed $1,400, and some are owed even more depending on their family size and situation. But if you don't file the right forms by the deadline, that money is gone forever. The deadline is coming up fast, and once it passes, the IRS will not, under any circumstances, issue you that payment. It doesn't matter if you deserved it, if you qualified, or if it was their mistake. The deadline is the deadline, and they will not budge. Then we have the Earned Income Tax Credit, which is one of the most valuable credits available, but also one of the most commonly missed. This credit alone can be worth several $1,000s, especially if you have children. The crazy thing is that millions of eligible Americans don't claim it every single year. Why? Because they don't know about it. They think they don't qualify, or they're intimidated by the paperwork. But the rules have been updated and expanded, which means more people qualify now than ever before. Even if you didn't qualify in previous years, you might qualify now. And here's something almost nobody knows. You can actually go back and claim this credit for previous years if you missed it. That's right. You could be sitting on thousands of dollars from previous tax years that you never claimed. But again, there are deadlines for how far back you can go, and those deadlines are approaching. Every month that passes is another month closer to losing that money permanently. And we haven't even talked about the child tax credit yet, which has undergone massive changes that most parents are completely unaware of. If you have kids, you absolutely need to pay attention to this because the amounts have increased significantly, and there are now provisions that allow you to receive advance payments throughout the year instead of waiting for tax season. But here's the thing. If you didn't update your information with the IRS, if you moved, if your income changed, or if your family situation changed, you might not be getting what you're entitled to. And even more importantly, if you didn't receive the full amount you were supposed to get in previous payments, you can claim the difference right now. We are talking about potentially hundreds of dollars per child that you might have missed. But you have to know how to calculate what you were supposed to receive versus what you actually got. And then you have to file the proper forms to get the rest. Most people have no idea how to do this, and the IRS certainly isn't holding your hand through the process. Now let's talk about something that's flying completely under the radar. State-level stimulus payments and rebates. While everyone was focused on federal programs, individual states have been quietly rolling out their own payment programs, and some of these are incredibly generous. California, for example, has sent out millions in middle-class tax refunds. Colorado has issued cashback payments to residents. New Mexico provided rebates that many eligible recipients never claimed. Virginia, Georgia, and about a dozen other states have similar programs, each with their own rules, their own eligibility requirements, and yes, their own deadlines. The problem is that these state programs don't coordinate with each other or with federal programs, so it's entirely possible to qualify for multiple payments from different sources. But you'll never know unless you actively research what's available in your state. And if you moved recently, you might qualify in your previous state and your current state. But if you don't file the right paperwork in both places, you're leaving money unclaimed. Here's where this gets even more complicated, and why timing is absolutely critical right now. Many of these programs have what's called a look-back period. That means you can claim credits and payments from previous years, but only for a limited time. For most federal programs, you have 3 years from the original filing deadline to amend your return and claim credits you missed. Sounds like plenty of time, right? Wrong! If we're talking about credits from 2021, that 3-year window is closing rapidly. In fact, for some programs, we are talking about deadlines that are just weeks away. Once that window closes, the money is gone forever. You can't appeal it. You can't ask for an exception. You can't do anything. The IRS will literally tell you that you're out of luck. And this is exactly what they're hoping for. Every dollar that goes unclaimed is a dollar they save. They're not evil, but they're also not going to go out of their way to make sure you get every penny you deserve. Let me give you a real-world example that shows how easy it is to miss out. I talked to a woman named Sarah, a single mom with 2 kids who works as a nurse. She filed her taxes on time, did everything by the book, but she had no idea she qualified for the Earned Income Tax Credit because her situation was complicated. She made just enough money that she thought she wouldn't qualify, but because of her childcare expenses and the number of hours she worked, she actually did. When she finally found out and amended her return, she received over $4,000 that she would have completely missed. $4,000 that she desperately needed, that was rightfully hers. But that would have vanished if she hadn't taken action. And she was lucky because she found out with just 2 months to spare before her deadline. What if she had waited another 3 months? That money would be gone. The same thing happens with the premium tax credit for health insurance. If you purchased insurance through the marketplace and your income was lower than you estimated, or if there were changes to the subsidy amounts that you didn't account for, you could be owed a substantial refund. Some people are owed over $1,000 just from this credit alone. But if you don't reconcile your premium tax credit when you file, you'll never see that money. The insurance companies aren't going to contact you. The marketplace isn't going to send you a reminder, and the IRS certainly isn't going to flag it for you. You have to know to look for it. You have to know how to calculate it, and you have to file the right forms. Miss any step in that process, and the money stays unclaimed. Now, I want to address something really important because I know some of you are thinking this all sounds too complicated, too time-consuming, or too difficult to figure out. And I'll be honest with you. Yes, it is complicated. The government has made this unnecessarily difficult, and that's not by accident. But here's the thing. Would you walk past a stack of $3,700 sitting on the sidewalk just because you'd have to bend down to pick it up? Of course not. Yet, that's essentially what millions of Americans do every year when they don't claim the money they're entitled to. The difficulty is real, but the money is also real. And the good news is that there are resources available to help you navigate this process. Free tax preparation services exist in every state. Nonprofit organizations specialize in helping people claim these credits, and there are legitimate professionals who can guide you through the paperwork. The key is to take action now, before those deadlines pass and your options disappear.